So, I mean, for me, it was 9/11, but for my mom, it was like Kennedy's assassination, and for her parents, it was Pearl Harbor. But, you know, you were like 2 during 9/11, so you don't really have a thing like that.
Yeah, but I don't really think it's gonna be like that anymore.
Like what?
Like, time standing still. Because I mean, after something bad happens now, like 2 seconds later, there's a like cat meme on YouTube about it or something. Ooh, which reminds me, I really want to show you this cat video.
Okay.
It's like wearing a hat. Okay, so we're gonna take a break again and come to you guys. So we can see here that a historical moment impacted the lives in Miranda's family. These sisters, it kind of pulled them one towards wanting to be an adult, and the sister still wanted her to be a kid. And so they had a dialogue there that it influenced them and changed the way that they were living. And so we can look back in our lives, in our families' lives, and see how historical moments have impacted our family. It might be a war thing, it might be something more recent. But yeah, we want you to think back in your family, think of a time that you can remember that would have impacted your family in some way. And
Sometimes these moments, they're not necessarily like, you know, like for my mom, the Cuban Missile Crisis, she was 13, and she was just starting to come to a realization of that. So the scene that I wrote was not about the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was about her fighting with her sister. So these moments, usually in the moment of crisis, or of this historical grand thing that's happening, we're not usually able to be totally aware of what this means, but sometimes we are. So what we'd like to invite you to do is to write a scene. You have on your worksheet, you have a dialogue page, and on there we'd like you to think about one of these moments for your family. It might be your life or your grandparents or whoever you know about, that would have been alive during a potential historical moment. So what are some historical events that we can think about that might have, your family would have been around for?
When Kennedy got shot?
Sure.
Or like the Mandela thing? Well, I'm talking because I was raised by my grandparents, so I talk about my grandmother's time. So she was around, she knows Mandela, Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Like all of those.
yeah.
Any other ideas?
First Gulf War,
Yeah.
Yeah.
First Iraqi invasion.
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor, yeah. So if you know an ancestor that experienced that thing, we invite you to think about that moment. Where were they when that was happening? Were they aware that it was happening? Were they watching it happen, or were maybe just living their life and then they would have found out later? So we invite you to write a scene. Just take a few minutes to write a scene between one of your ancestors and somebody else. Maybe it wasn't your ancestor, maybe they're at school, whatever. But where were they in the moment that this happened?
And remember, this is all about just imagining and creating. Even though we don't really know, we're going to kind of fill in the spaces with our imagination. And the top will really help if you start to fill out like where they were, and you know that will help
time.
put you into the scene a little bit easier. Just take a couple minutes to do that.
So since Mary's done, we're trying to hurry a little bit. We're closing in on time. So what did you write about, Mary?
Okay, I wrote about my grandfather, who was part of the second wave at Normandy, who went in and then was part of the teams that liberated concentration camps and camps of other kinds of camps. But this is a funny moment in this horrible sadness where they would go into these places and the German officers would have fled and have left behind just everything. And so there's a story, and we have a picture of my grandfather, who's in his early 20s, and a friend going into an officer's quarters and finding their booze and their uniform. So they drink all the booze and then put on the SS uniforms and take pictures of themselves sitting behind the fancy German desk. So we have these pictures of my grandfather drunk off his tail in an SS uniform, like, yeah.
Wow.
So this is the guy that I mentioned.
That's fantastic.